Hey guys, Czar here. Good morning to you. Happy Friday. It is May 17th, 9:29, almost 1 minute to the open of New York. Having some computer issues this morning, so don't know how long I can record here before things pack up and I have to restart again, which I've had to do several times this morning. There are a couple of major updates on my PC and things are just looking a little funny. Having trouble with TradingView as well. I'm sure it's PC related, but we'll see what we can do. I'll stay with you as long as I can, and we'll see what this market has to offer us here on the open. Watching the NASDAQ here in the pre-market, you can see that we have created a new zone with 2 candles only, so it's not really a zone as such. It's an impending zone. It's a materializing zone, especially since we're now driving down and have taken out 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 prior candles here in the UK session. So weakness coming into the open. Let's take a look at the 3 sisters. You'll see that it's across the board, right? Curling, driving, and below VWAP now on the S&P and Dow, and kind of on VWAP with the NASDAQ. So I'm going to keep an eye on this kind of this bias before the market opens. But look at this. Look at this. We are about to open, and boom! Look at that Dow going a little crazy on a relative basis only. Of course, those aren't really gigantic moves, but you get the idea. I'll be very patient here this morning, guys. It is Friday. Fridays are a little different than the rest of the days of the week. Mondays are a little different as well. And I like to just be patient here and see what this market has to offer us. I'll cut out dead air and sideways grinding action, things of that nature, but I'm going to try to articulate, like I did in my video yesterday, and I hope you had a chance to watch that, kind of what I'm thinking, exactly what I'm thinking. I'm learning how to take what I've put together over the last close to 40 years now of trading, and has really contributed to instinct and feel in the market and my subconscious set of principles and beliefs and values and what have you. And I'm trying to bring them out to my conscious mind and articulate them so you can hear what I might be doing on the inside. Not that I'm doing anything great, by the way, guys, and I don't believe that for one moment. But this is something that several of our members have asked me to do, is to really speak to what my mindset is. What am I thinking as these candles are dancing, for instance? Well, in the moment, we are inside of the 1 minute open range, which has now been formed, right? One high there and low here. That is 1 minute. We're inside the open range, nothing for me to do. And even if prices moved out of the open range, there's nothing for me to do unless there's a confluence of factors and elements contributing to a solid trading idea. And so be watching for that as well. In the middle of a 30-minute range here on the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the S&P. In the middle of a range, very similar configuration, in fact, on the S&P. That was the NASDAQ and the S&P, and now looking at the Dow. I'm going to move this up here, guys, in a very similar way that I did on the NASDAQ. Again, this is not really a powerful zone at this point. We're just forming, right? We have this prior to this prior candle. It's a pre-market candle. And then the next candle, which is the opening candle, of course. So we got a mixed bag going on here, guys. Nothing for me to do. There's a tendency, I think, for many traders, and I did this for a long time too, or for a while anyway, is to get a little panicky and make sure I don't miss anything right here on the open. I don't do that anymore. I'm going to let structure set up and give me a clear sense of what it's likely to do next. And obviously there's nothing foolproof. Most of my market open trades are profitable, but not all of them. And the reason why I have such a high win rate on these is because I'm very selective. I wait until the proverbial stars are lined up, if you will, having as many units of conviction in favor of the trade idea before acting. That's the Dow. This is the S&P, guys. You can see how long that took to load up. It's giving me a little trouble here today. Back to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, the weakest of the three. Not doing anything yet. It's tempting, given the way this momentum is continuing to come down. This could be a great entry. I'm not taking it. I'm not thoroughly convinced yet. I want to see how many points we got here to the bottom of the zone. Yeah, so we only have 16 points here, guys, to the bottom of this zone. This zone is fairly key for the moment, given that it was formed here in the UK. See how far back it goes? Well, it doesn't. It goes right into clean traffic. In fact, that thing could be blown out quite easily. If we get a pullback here, I may consider taking a short on the NASDAQ. Let me show you the three sisters again. Here's what I'm watching. I want to see that there's a concerted effort, ideally with all three sisters. Doesn't have to be, but I'd like to see all three agreeing, ideally breaking below VWAP and the EMAs, and of course the open range, all saying the same thing, or at least contributing to the story in some way, shape, or form. In other words, if the Dow drove up really high here this morning and then started rounding over and coming down, the Dow coming down from that high level could be supportive to shorts in through here. Make sense? Say change in momentum across the board, and selling often begets more selling, buying begets more buying, and the process continues. So nothing to do here, guys, just watching. Dow dropping, NASDAQ really not. There could be a case here for shorts. Dropping. Nothing for me yet. We're inside of the open range. We have a mixed picture here. It's messy, it's sloppy, and as I sent in one of my checklists here this morning, one of the reasons not to trade, in my opinion, is when price action is messy, it's confusing, it's sloppy, it's chaotic, it's frantic, it's directionless, right? Senseless in some ways, and those are good reasons not to enter a trade. In my opinion, that's what I utilize in terms of criteria. This is the NASDAQ still. And so now I'm watching this price action, guys, and even if prices rally above open range, I'm likely not to take a long. Why? Because this fairly aggressive zone has been put into place. So now I'm probably only looking at shorts. Now I've just simplified the equation for myself, right? I'm only looking for shorts because prices over here will be running into this zone above. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ, the S&P, pardon me, same thing. And then the Dow, same thing, right? So there's nowhere for prices to go. Once it hits here, of course it could just blow right through that, but then it's got another zone up here a little bit higher, right? And as I was talking with one of my members yesterday, we're really just looking for prices to go a few points, right? The 1R essentially, or 1.5 or 2R, whatever we decide here on the open. But we want to put all the pieces in our favor. Path of least resistance. What is the path of least resistance right now? For me, the path of least resistance is down. Prices can absolutely go up, and they likely will now that I've said that, but it's completely irrelevant, right? For me, this is looking weak, right? There's a weakness here this morning, right? Coming into the pre-market and then trying to rally, failing, trying to rally and failing, right? And so now my immediate bias is for shorts. It's to the downside, but I can flip that in a heartbeat and all of a sudden go long based on what's printing in the moment, and you might even see that happen here today. Who knows? Three sisters dropping now on the S&P below open range, looking to take out, already has taken out the session low on the S&P. Dow remaining stable. I wouldn't even say firm at this point, but stable. NASDAQ just hanging out in the open range. This is tricky price action, guys. If you're sitting there going, well, what do we do next? Well, I'm doing the same thing, right? I don't know, and so I'm doing nothing, right? There's nothing for me to do here. And I will encourage you, when you come into the market open play in particular, just to remain calm. You know, even if you miss a big move, it's no big deal. It's just one trade. Remain cool, calm, and collected, and just wait for things to set up where it's so compelling that you have no choice. Sell stop, guys. This is the wrong marker. Sell stop right there. I'll fix the marker in a moment. My stop will be above the high of the session. Still remaining directionless, right? We are back into the open range. That's the NASDAQ. This is the NASDAQ. This is the S&P coming back into open range. Dow remaining firm. Nothing for me to do. Prices are oscillating or vacillating around VWAP, which is flat, and the EMAs, which are fairly tightly bound. And that means nothing, right? It means going nowhere, range bound. I really would like to see all three of these fail or get strong together. That would be the ultimate scenario. But until that happens, there's nothing for me to do. So then why did I place an order? Well, notice I placed a conditional order, right? Prices have to do something to prove to me that it's going down with some degree of confidence. Sell stop order, guys, live. And I'm in, guys. And I'm in. And now the patience game, guys. Let me show you the three sisters now that we're in. Dropping, dropping, and sort of dropping here on the Dallies. We're below the 9 and 21. We're below VWAP, below open range on all three at this point. And I'm going to manage this trade very dynamically because I'm not loving the price action here. And so now, guys, the Dow has rallied fairly strongly from here back into the open range. That does not help this trade whatsoever, as you can imagine. The S&P also had a big shift candle. It is now dropping down a little bit here, but that could be setting up for another continued buy up here. Reality is we're in a pretty rampaging bull market as we speak. And the appetite for buying dips and buying on weakness is real. All right, guys, watching price action here very closely. We're almost at one more push, 50%. Moving my stop to break even now to protect this position. Very tight. News comes out in less than 2 minutes, and there's a very good chance that I will get stopped out, and that's fine at break even as opposed to a 1R loss. That's playing defense, especially since the Dow is rallying strongly. I won't show it to you right now, but if you've traded during this time, you know that to be the case. Looks like I'm about to get stopped out of break even here, guys, and not quite. And there it is, guys. So stopped out of break even, protecting the position. Now, as some of you have asked, I'm going to keep this video going to see how this pans out, given that I managed it dynamically. Some of you would like to see if the dynamic decision worked out in my favor. In other words, prices went back to 1R loss, or if they continued to 1R, if I would have held it with a kind of a 1R all or nothing model, if you will. Let's do that together. And there it is, guys. So it turns out that prices did come all the way back to 1R loss. And so it turned out to be a beneficial thing. Doesn't mean it was the right decision. And obviously in retrospect it was. But a beneficial thing to manage this trade actively and dynamically, given what we were seeing in the S&P and certainly in the Dow at the time, right? This strong rally here. Now since then we've gone sideways, but we are back here to the high of the session. Basically, yeah, we basically tapped the high of the session on the NASDAQ. And so thanks for being with me today, guys. Hopefully that explained what my mindset was going into this, why I chose that trade. And to be quite frank with you, taking no trades on this particular open would have been a very legitimate decision. I would even say a better decision, not because of the way this trade turned out, but just because the price action wasn't that compelling, quite frankly. And if we're searching for optimal setups only and the cleanest and most compelling setups, then not trading this morning would have been a good idea. I think it was managed quite well, and there was no loss and there was no win. Thanks for being with me today, guys. Have an amazing rest of the day and a great weekend if we don't talk again. Chat soon.